So this is extremely important. If you
Right,
don't understand the business process, critical business process, and what are those sensitive data, we are not going to protect every data. Right?
uh,
That
right,
doesn't make any sense.
right, right,
So understanding those processes, where are those data, right? They might be in the transit, they might be stored, they might be being processed. So need to
right,
understand all those things before thinking about uh, what are the threats there, what are the existing vulnerabilities, what controls
right.
needed, what else is needed to ensure that risk is within the acceptable level.
Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute World Council of Directors, where we engage with industry pioneers shaping the future of cybersecurity, risk management, and governance. I'm your host, Charu Mehra, and today we have an exceptional guest whose expertise has fortified organizations against evolving security threats. Joining us is Mr. Ramesh Bhat, a cybersecurity and risk management leader with over 2 decades of experience. As partner and practice delivery head, strategy and risk at Wipro, he has led major cybersecurity transformation, governance frameworks, and compliance strategies for global enterprise. From managing security for over 260 clients to driving ISO 27001, NIST, and GDPR compliance, his work has set industry benchmarks. Today, we'll dive into his journey, the future of cybersecurity, and how businesses can build resilient, compliant, and secure operations. Mr. Bhatt, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Charu, for such a nice introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you
I'm
very much.
looking forward to having this discussion with you today.
Yeah, sure. Keen. Looking forward keenly for that.
So, Mr. Bhatt, every leader's journey is shaped by key moments, challenges that they might overcome, opportunities that they seize, and the passion that fuels their path. But before we dive into the technical aspects of your journey, let's start how it all began. What inspired you to step into this field, and what have been some of the defining moments that shaped your journey?
Okay, Charu, this is, in fact, my initial 7, 8 years had been not good at all. Um, Honestly, I was backbencher and, did not have a very good so-called, scores which would, put me in, right job straight. Yes, I had 7 or 8 years of real struggle to settle in a particular domain of interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, in fact, I still remember where my father-in-law, even he didn't tell, but he was kind of expressing that, to whom I have given my daughter to, right? It's a fact. Um, then yes, I was thinking of getting into IT field over a period of
Hmm.
time of thinking that where I was in.
Right.
Though that industry is good, yes, there were its own challenges, so I had to make a change. So I studied
Absolutely.
Microsoft Systems Engineering and then
Hmm.
got into National Stock Exchange IT. That's where
Okay.
I got exposure to technologies. I was responsible for customer management
Hmm.
and also had exposure to, apart from other technical aspects, those
Right.
SEBI and exchange security guidelines,
Hmm.
right? And then there was a friend who, whenever we went for coffee, he used to speak about ISACA and his programs that's happening in the cybersecurity field. So
Hmm.
a lot happens over coffee, worked for me. So I started, exploring more on that. And there, I thought I must specialize in an area.
Right.
That's where I took up giving CISA exam from CISACA. I passed it in 2004. Uh,
Hmm.
then NSEIT was also going for BS 7799 certification, which is
Right.
ISO 27001 now.
Right.
I did that. I was part of the team. NSCIT was certified to that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed working in that. Overall, my tenure with NSEIT was fine to, lay this foundation to give an
Mm-hmm.
idea where now I must be heading into.
Right, right,
So after that, I got into hardcore security company.
right.
So I mainly worked on some of the risk consulting programs
Mm-hmm.
involved in security audits, right?
Okay.
Um,
Right.
One of the ISO 27001 project, which I remember very well, is which
Mm.
I got one of the banks at Muscat certified for ISO
Right,
27001.
right, right.
Um, at that time, unlike today, uh, these many technologies or automations were pretty less. It
Hmm.
was challenging, but the journey was good. While I could learn, I could explore. There are a lot of people to help me out,
Right.
uh, and bank was certified.
Mm-hmm.
The first attempt, it was a good journey. I should
Right.
say, yeah,
Wow, it's been incredible for you then, I mean, Mr. Bhatt, because you said that you had challenges initially, but you overcame those challenges, and you've gained so much experience and learning throughout your journey, and it's fascinating to hear how your experiences and insights have shaped your leadership in cybersecurity and risk management. So it's really wonderful to hear in your own words. So, Mr. Bhatt, implementing an ISO 27001 certified security systems for a major bank that we just talked about in Muscat, and it's really commendable. It's no small feat, especially in an industry where trust and compliance and security are non-negotiable. So, leading such high-stake transformations must have come with its share of challenges, like regulatory complexities to some operational roadblocks. What were the biggest hurdles that you faced during this implementation, and how did you navigate those challenges to ensure that the transition is seamless and secure?
yeah. Um, uh, in fact, it was almost uh, 2008, 18 years back or 17 years back. There was not much regulations as you see nowadays, which
No.
is picking up a lot. But
Right,
this concept of security, where people, process, and technology has to be well integrated, was
right.
not much uh, gone into, I would say, from very junior level till senior management.
Senior.
So there
Hmm.
were a lot of disconnects. Always
Right,
business and the processes around it are more important. This is
right,
something that's, yes, I mean, purely IT's responsibility. So
right, right.
major resistance or challenges I faced was to get certain things implemented, or
Right.
getting the right answer. Suppose you are say heading say for example a finance department, for example.
Hmm.
To get
Right.
an appointment itself is very difficult. Say I'm
True, so
busy.
true.
For you this is secondary. So, and
Absolutely.
then
That's
unless I understand business process properly, so this is extremely
you
important. If you
right,
don't understand the business process, critical business process, and what are those sensitive data, we are not going to protect every data, right? That
right,
doesn't make any sense.
right, right,
So understanding those processes, where are those data, right? They might be in the transit, they might be stored, they might be being processed. So need to
right,
understand all those things before thinking about um, what are the threats there, what are the existing vulnerabilities, what controls
right.
there, and what else is needed to ensure that risk is within the acceptable level. So that getting time of the people, and whatever is implemented, then acceptance to follow that,
Absolutely.
right?
Right, right.
So that's where the process gets bypassed.
Hmm.
That is one of the challenge. And end user awareness, where see, this is responsibility of everyone in the organization.
Everyone. Right, right.
Of course, that level of responsibility, type of responsibility changes, but everyone is responsible. It's not
Absolutely.
uh, only IT function at all, though IT has got major role to play there.
Role. Hmm.
So their end user training, unless you make it really very interesting, it doesn't really get absorbed
Right.
by them. And that's
True,
where I
true.
used the challenges multiple times, do uh, what do you say, uh, tweak changes, try to add something which makes them remember certain things, do's and
Right,
don'ts.
right, right.
So those were the challenges. That was very beginning. But as I moved on, there was always, learning which took me to, different stages where
Hmm.
finally it has settled to a level where know that all these things are important. People with competency, absolutely well-defined process with rules and responsibilities, and
Right.
technology. Of course, technology plays a major role, and the
True,
management.
true, true.
Um, So that was, and I one last thing which I should mention, which I had learned from that particular project is when certifying auditor came after going through all that. Though he said yes, it's well designed and done. One
Right.
thing which he said is don't make the process complicated. Right,
True,
the
true.
moment the process is complicated, people will think of how shall I bypass for
Right,
somebody for whom this other stuff's business process. I mean, you might be having your primary one.
right.
So if you bypass, if it is not, if it is kind of coming as a uh, uh, burden, additional burden for you, you might bypass. So you have to have a very well balanced
Absolutely.
approach.
Right, right.
I still
So
remember
yeah.
which was told 18 years back.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I was just saying that, I've been a quality analyst for an organization and I've gone through multiple such audits. And I absolutely, can relate to your point that uh, there is resistance from people because they think that what we are doing is not their primary job. So, and it's such a wonderful thing that sort of navigated these challenges and with strategy and solution driven mindsets, which is incredible, Mr. Bhatt. So, cyber risk is no longer an IT concern, Mr. Bhatt. We know that, and it has now become a boardroom priority that directly impacts business resilience, reputation, and a long-term success. Yet, we see that many organizations still struggle to integrate cybersecurity and risk management into their core business strategy. From your experience working with global enterprises, how can a corporate shift their mindset and ensure that cybersecurity isn't treated just as a compliance checkbox, but is a critical business enabler that drives growth and protects the organization?
Yeah. Let me give a small real life
Example?
example. Uh,
Yes, please.
Suppose I have 50 lakhs worth of jewelry, nowhere near
Right,
that, but
right.
yes, for discussion purpose. Uh, Now, one day, suppose that box was brought out to show it to somebody, and a wife forgets to keep it inside.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone being responsible for protecting the asset. Yes, it's evident that that is something important. It should be kept where it is, right?
Right,
Not like
right.
keeping nail cutter there. Not much worry about it.
True.
So what I mean to say here is, if I think that no, it is wife's responsibility, she should
Hmm.
take care.
Mm-hmm.
Then if he feels that it is her responsibility, no, who loses? We lose,
Absolutely, as a
right?
as a
But
group together, right?
group together. But
Right,
where it should be kept, how it should be kept, whether inside also we should have a one locker or not,
no,
is may not be
mhm,
son's responsibility. We will not look into that. One who
right,
wants to really protect it, owns it. Wife you can
right,
consider as a head of the business function here. right?
Yes,
I am from
yes.
management to provide appropriate resources,
Right,
funding, etc. Right? So now extend this analogy there that um, people, process, technology all has to be
right.
well integrated, as I told earlier,
Right, right,
and uh, have a risk-based approach. Right? When it is
right.
risk-based approach, suppose you are
Mm-hmm.
head of a financial function.
Mm-hmm.
If there are certain risks to the data being processed or stored,
Right,
look at the regulations, like say, for example, SOX, and you come under that purview, for example.
right.
Obviously, that is something extremely important. Even apart
True.
regulations, you might really want to safeguard, those data. The
Mm-hmm.
moment you know that you own the risk, you will
It's
have
your
somebody within your team say you are the risk owner. And
right.
responsibility from other side
Mm-hmm.
is to tell you that just saying risk is not enough. Risk which will have what type of business impact,
Impact.
right?
True.
If that credit card data or such important data, or maybe certain strategy data, if that is
Right,
leaked out to the outside world or to the competitor, what will happen?
right, right.
Right? So now this particular risk is seen to be where those data are there. The possibility level of vulnerability and the possibility of threat are all high. Then oh no, I don't want to get into such a problem. Otherwise,
Right,
if you just say risk is high, so what? Live with that. So
right.
that kind of change, and uh, management definitely has to really uh, uh, convey the message down that everyone has got their roles and responsibilities.
True, true.
All right, they have to, apart from their primary work, own this and extend necessary support.
Support.
All right,
Absolutely.
so that's where that appropriate governance comes into picture, security
Right,
culture comes into picture.
right, right.
See, this security culture and all might be extremely difficult someone coming from outside as a consultant to drive it.
True,
Management to understand that everywhere the security has to be embedded into when new application is being rolled out, involve them as well. Like you involve maybe
true.
quality for testing the quality of that. Also involve security. What are the security aspects to be
Security.
included, right?
True, true.
Do it
Right.
right first time itself, so that you don't live with certain weaknesses which expose later. If it takes about 3 months, that means in 3 months you're exposed
You're
to
at
the risk.
risk. Right, right.
Yeah. So so that way, it is very important that is not only IT's responsibility,
Responsible.
it is responsibility of the business leaders. I have so and so thing, please come and see if there are any risk.
Risks.
Okay.
Hmm.
And how do we get that mitigated and maintained compliant to the security requirements that are.
Right, right, right. Wow, that's an important perspective, Mr. Bhatt. As you said that, it has to be do it right first time. And the leadership should sort of form a governance that it is everyone's responsibility. It's not just the, IT teams or the risk team's responsibility to take care of it. And it's clear that cybersecurity, it's just not about firewalls and compliance. It's about protecting the foundation of a business. And as you said that, we'll be talking about this a little more in the next question. But as you said that, we should be prepared in advance instead of acting on it when the risk arrives.
Yeah.
Mr. Bhatt, in today's rapidly evolving regulatory landscape, businesses are under immense pressure to comply with global standards like GDPR, SOX, HIPAA, and PSI DSS. The complexity we've seen lies not in, lies in ensuring that compliance to these standards remains sustainable. It's not just a one-time thing. So it should be sustainable, scalable, and aligned with business goals. With regulations that we see are constantly evolving, how can an organization stay ahead of these requirements? as we talked about it, not reactively but proactively.
Yeah. Um, in fact, I have seen in many of the organizations where I work with my team, what has been seen is yes, compliance, these things done, this control check done, this control check
Right,
done.
right,
Are we compliant? Yes, compliant. And that report goes, yeah, things little bit here and there may be red amber, we take care.
right.
And security, risk, and implementation of controls, right? That itself, first of all, may not be adequate enough. That's where, I talk about the PDCA when I talk with them. Plan do the risk assessment. Be completely aware of which is the scope.
Right.
What are those assets? What are those security landscape to be
Mhm.
covered? And
Right.
there have we uh, understood those business processes, assets, and those critical assets inventory, all right?
True.
And with appropriate risk assessment, have we implemented appropriately all those
Or not. Mhm.
controls,
Right.
uh, competent people, and then appropriate process, which is not complex enough,
Right.
making use of appropriate technologies and say as much as automation so that users will not feel the pinch of that coming as a um, headache or whatever you call it,
True. True.
right? That has to be there.
Right.
Assume that if suppose I'm just trying to comply to what controls, what risks identified and controls implemented,
Mhm.
even if I'm managing my compliance to those controls very well, if I have
Right.
not done the risk assessment of one side at all, then regulation point of view, still I might be exposed. Right. So
True.
let me
True.
give one example here, which have seen at many places.
Mm-hmm.
Say patching management, or you said you took example of I think firewall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say firewall implementation,
Right.
antivirus update. All these processes are working fine, right? But
Right.
when you do the vulnerability scanning, every time you get certain new vulnerabilities coming up, when you see
Mm-hmm.
these process individually, be it patching or antivirus update, it's happening, right? Process as such is
Right.
not failing. Even if certain system is down, you have a process to see whether when that is coming up and get that updated with the latest antivirus
Mm-hmm.
or patch, etc. Then where is the problem? Go
Right.
deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where having that complete picture is very
Picture.
important. What if
True.
new assets which is built in the test and development environment and pushed to the production environment for the sake
Right.
of with the business reason or whatever reason, or somebody not aware of this process, or we
True.
have not much educated those people to follow certain processes, then
True.
that comes into
Mm-hmm.
the environment. Just like within 5 years, if vaccination does not happen, not taken, then might be susceptible for those things, right? Then can't
True.
blame my health later. Should take those
True.
precautions. So
True.
it's very important that before you push those things into the production environment, have I taken care of security configurations as per the documented specification, or it could be
Mm-hmm.
something like image which is continuously updated and applied, and assess it. If fine, push it to the production environment.
Right.
Yes, time is
Right.
very important, but that has to begin the moment the building of the asset starts, or at appropriate level. So if that
Level.
process is fine, why will
Mm-hmm.
new vulnerabilities come up?
Come on. True.
Right? There are many such examples where if security is
Mm-hmm.
not embedded right from the beginning, new weaknesses come in. Till that is identified and fixed, you are exposed to the risk.
Right.
Then,
Right.
if risk materializes, if it is the PIA data and probably some privacy, all right, what if it comes under GDPR and then exposed, the huge
True.
penalty that
True.
it
True.
comes, right?
True.
So that's very important that I would say, I would sum up, That PDCA, follow it very properly. Plan to have I covered all assets? Do it appropriately with the right competency,
True.
and then compliance. If for all controls, whether I'm getting those data to see whether it is consistently working fine or not.
Not.
If not, for various reason, taking the corrective measure, right? So
Right.
that you know that becomes security and compliance. Compliance to
Mm-hmm.
those security controls, which is complete, becomes
Right.
reliable and sustainable. On top of it, yes, governance and security culture.
Wow, wow. That's really insightful approach, Mr. Bhatt. Compliance is often seen as a challenge, but the way you framed it, to follow the PDCA, it's really, a strategic advantage, and it shifts the
Mhm.
perspective. Mr. Bhatt, with your deep expertise in cybersecurity, risk management, and governance, what are the aspirations for your next phase of journey? Do you see yourself taking on boardroom roles, driving policy and governance at a strategic level, or maybe mentor next generation of cybersecurity leaders? What is sort of a impact that you hope to create in the future?
Yes, Charu, definitely, 100%. Uh, in fact, let me come back, from that journey where I started my journey as a consultant,
Right.
where I would think of uh, how a particular, when certain control is recommended, will it
Mm-hmm.
suffice? Will it
True.
suffice?
Mm-hmm.
Was always there in the mind.
Mine.
At some point in time, I thought that I must get into operations side of it. That's where, at IBM, I took up a role. I was leading a compliance management program for one of the large organization and sector compliance leader for in the later period there.
Mm-hmm.
So there got complete nitty-gritty of the example which I gave, right? Asset
Right. Right.
management. If this is working fine, next process working fine, certain failure in Y process also can induce some a problem,
Right.
right? So all those things, since I have seen, I can relate it to various controls and where what can go wrong, right?
Right.
With
Right.
that knowledge, now that yes, there are very good technologies,
Mm-hmm.
very good technologies need to be implemented. Not to go for just too many technologies that also poses problem.
Right. Right.
Very balance between people competency, appropriate process, technology, right? And then without appropriate risk management, governed very well by the senior management,
Right.
there will be uh, uh, problems coming here and there. There will not be appropriate visibility, and then
Right.
live in uncertainty. All these things,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen in many of the organizations. When all these things are tied very well, in
Mm-hmm.
one of the organizations, yes, we worked on transformation,
Right.
where most important thing was to convince the management that why your involvement is required and what is that, to convey that roles and responsibilities of various business
Mm.
functions.
True.
They understood when said that risk conveyed in an appropriate business language, and why it cannot only be owned by IT. So when that was defined, since that has come from the senior management,
Senior
people started
management.
following it.
Right.
There weren't delays or appropriate actions were happening. Just to give a couple of examples, suppose a very special ID, user ID, is not taken off from the system when somebody has moved out of the organization, moved to different project. Now, once that culture sets in,
Right.
that will help to lot extent to get that deleted within the say a day or 3 days as per the policy defines, rather than that gets addressed when you do the reconciliation.
Right.
Uh, similarly, it applies to many other control area. So yes, coming back to your question, uh, definitely want to be there, um, say at the board level, where the knowledge of having seen this security end to end,
Right.
uh, what importance each layer has got, be it governance or culture or technology or processes,
Right.
IT
Right.
or the business functions, uh,
Right.
must be able to visualize where we are, having weak point and
Right.
get that fixed, because more and more digitalization, more and more we are uh, uh, kind of exposed to risk because of
Risks.
uh, those hackers or inside threats
Right.
increasing,
Right.
and regulations are becoming very, very stringent. So very important to address right from there and tell that why
Right.
that is very important to address it right from there. It's not bottoms up, it has to be
It is
top down.
top down. Right.
Right. And yes, the other point which you said, mentoring other senior leaders. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there can be struggle, but where, see, the example which I gave, where we did niche-based assessment, where
Right.
we also found that the problems which were there from the governance layer
Mm-hmm.
and overall management of the risk management in totality
Right.
were missing, which
Mm-hmm.
could be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important that to teach not just saying a couple of sentences with certain examples, data points, if that
Right.
is told, and even for the the people who make an early entry,
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind to get a bigger, larger picture, so that
Picture.
your learning also becomes far more better,
Right.
and your
Right.
contribution becomes much better. Otherwise, it
Right.
should not so happen that firewall people, network security people working separately, identity and access management working separately, and this risk and compliance working separately doesn't serve the purpose of
Right.
organization's objective as security as a business enabler.
True, true, true. Yeah, yeah. And it's truly inspiring, Mr. Bhatt. It is clear that the way you talk about cybersecurity, risk management, your journey is far from over. And the way you're thinking ahead, whether it's about boardrooms, vendorship, shaping industry standards, taking decision that impacts the entire organization, this shows your commitment to driving meaningful change. So that's really inspiring. So, Mr. Bhatt, in today's complex business environment, corporate governance is more than just a compliance. It's about building trust, accountability, and long-term resilience. With your vast experience in risk management and cybersecurity, how do you see governance evolving to address modern challenges? Any principles or strategies organizations should prioritize to ensure ethical, transparent, and effective leadership? Anything that you can suggest us?
Yes. So one most important thing which frameworks and standards talk about is the management involvement. If you look at ISO 27001,
Right.
the most important thing which is mandatory is demonstrated appropriate involvement of the management, setting the right
Management.
tone and the context way we need it.
True.
Um, so with that, uh, yes, we these business environments keep changing.
Hmm.
New technologies keep coming. Not only in cyber security, in every area.
Every
Every
industry. Right.
business functions may adopt
Right.
different technologies.
Right.
Process
Right.
keeps changing based on the outs influenced by maybe even outside market. All right.
Right.
So
Right.
with all those things being very dynamic, digitalization, is I mean, boundary between country to country is as good as, and lot of things being outsourced, lot of third party is also coming in. So
Right.
with all that, obviously possibility for risk, and hence
Risk.
the business impact which can really have impact on reputation, image, etc.,
Right.
where it
Right.
can take very long time to get back.
Come back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
come back to the level of respect of customers and others you
Right.
have.
Right.
So go with those changes, right? uh, be with that pace. It's not that that has gone fast. I will do it. When I settle there. No, it
Right.
has to be
Right.
parallelly moving in. Now, say for example, AI coming in everywhere.
Right.
So it's important that with that in place, while business point of view, I make use of it. What are those security point of view new risks that would come in, and
Mm-hmm.
what is it that we must be doing security point of view, right?
Right.
That it does not leave certain risks, certain threats unaddressed.
And that.
Right? The most important, I would say, stay in line, follow all these.
Right.
Always top-down approach, management, showing their commitment by defining roles and responsibilities, working towards ensuring security culture
Right.
keeps on becoming better, and stay with the pace of the business process changes and technology changes.
True, true, true. And whatever your perspectives so important and so powerful. Like we've talked about this in previously as well, that it has to be top down. The management has to be involved in it, and it's clear that governance isn't just about policies. It's about ensuring that leadership decisions are rooted in transparency, accountability, and a long-term vision. So, Mr. Bhatt, you've recently joined the Directors Institute, stepping into a network dedicated to corporate governance and leadership excellence. We'd like to know what motivated you to become a part of this institute, and how has been your experience so far?
Yeah, in fact, maybe 5 years down the line, I never thought about it. But now that I have to shift to different phase of this particular
Mm.
domain, one thing is
Right.
sure. Yes, I want to continue, right, this field. So the next
Mhm.
question is what I am probably good at, and
Right.
where I can contribute. Right.
True.
Whether working as uh, say program manager for a large set of organization, or
Hmm.
somewhere if I can bring in some changes. As I
Right.
have seen those, the security culture, governance not only through process. When I say
Right.
governance, through technology also, you can, when you choose a technology, while it addresses certain security risks,
Hmm.
see if what compliance component it has got, so that it
Right.
helps you with a certain uh, measures to see whether am I compliant with a particular control, or am I
Um,
deviating,
hmm. Hmm.
and automations, so that uh, when you go down to the people, process, and technology,
Hmm.
top to the bottommost level,
Bottom. Right.
this serves as something which ties and bolts all those things together, and uh, the security posture happens to be reliable, sustainable.
Right. 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 Right.
So that's
And
where
I
I thought, yes, get into this boardroom, or this kind of role. Uh, then I started exploring where to go,
mhm.
and I landed up, after attending a couple of webinars. After 3 months of going through that, not too much of thinking, I thought, let me get in now,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So there will be much to learn also, and whatever I
Absolutely.
have learned to propagate that as well.
Wow, wow. That's really nice. Fantastic to hear, Mr. Bhatt. And it's always insightful to learn how leaders like yourself are continuously investing in, further learning and governance excellence, and making sure that their ideas are implemented. So they have that. that place where whatever they are thinking can be implemented throughout the organization. And I hope that the Rectors Institute is able to help you achieve the goals that you've set for yourself.
Yes, definitely. Looking forward for that.
I'm
At
sure, sir.
least
I'm sure
believing that this institute helps toward that.
yeah, you'll do wonders, sir. I'm sure of that. We've come to an end of today's podcast. Mr. Bhatt, this conversation has been truly insightful from your expertise in cybersecurity, risk management, and corporate governance to your vision for boardroom leadership and the future of compliance. Your journey has been nothing short of inspiring. On behalf of FaceTime with Leaders and Directors Institute, we sincerely appreciate you sharing your experiences and perspective with us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, sir. To our audience, thank you for tuning in. If you found today's discussion valuable, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep shaping the future. Thank you.